such a great crowd for Austin this morning. I met Austin a few years ago when he was, I guess, a junior or senior, and he signed up for my class and at Ross, and we got to know each other. It's a class on self-awareness. I think I could have had you teach the class because you're a pretty self-aware guy, especially at 20 years old. You were, and hopefully 20. What are you? 24 now, Austin? 25. Oh man, you're very self-aware. Yeah. When you get to be 35, then you become self-aware of pain, you know, things like that. At 65, you wonder if you're still awake. At 75, you're just happy to be awake. That's how it goes. Marriage, definitely. I always say, people say, you know, they take these tests, and it's a test about getting your personality and understanding yourself. And I say, this is not valid. If you really want a good test, have your spouse take the test for you, and then you truly know your blind spots. They won't be blind anymore. So anyway, this is a great event. We're overbooked today, so it's kind of like the airlines. If there's no seats left, I may ask somebody to get up and give a seat, and I'll give a free book if that person gives a seat away. So that's like a book for a booking. So, but anyway, be sure there's no. If you could just move to the left, so that as people walk in, they don't have to crawl over everybody like at the Michigan football game, right? We have lots of announcements. I want to introduce some people who haven't been here before. We have an opportunity. There's some folks out here who are in transition and are looking for job opportunities. So at the end of the event, if you do want to make an announcement about something you're looking for, either you have it's a little bit like swap shop. If you have a position that you're trying to fill and you're looking for somebody to fill that, let us know. Or if you're looking to find a position, let me know that. So we'll do that at the end of the event. I think we got a lot of people, first-time Leaders Connect. How many folks are here? Oh, that's fantastic, fantastic. Great. So this event has been going on for a long time. Actually, I tell the story, but I'm going to let Mike Cole and Chris Singh come up and tell the story a little bit, because you guys have been affiliated. So Mike and Chris, come on up and you guys can talk about, they're two of our sponsors, and we'll also have you join us if you like, and the third sponsor is Office Evolution. So Mike, what's Leaders Connect? Maybe you can describe it.
Well, good morning, everybody. I didn't practice this speech. Good morning. Thanks for coming out. We've been a proud sponsor of Leaders Connect for a number of years, working with Rob, just bringing the community together, providing some leadership, informal leadership training, networking. It's really been a great thing for the bank. I know personally I've gained a lot from being here over the years. And we also now have a Leaders Connect Detroit program that we've launched about 3 years ago. We have one coming up on the 25th at Tech Town. Be Dr. Wayne Baker, and you can sign up online for that. And so should I talk about the bank a little bit while I'm here? So Bank of Ann Arbor, locally owned and operated bank. I've got a couple of my colleagues here. I think Michael Davidoff, if you could stand up for a second. Michael's in our investment management area. Andrea Retzky. Andrea is one of our newest members of the team. She just joined us about a month ago, so welcome, Andrea. And then we had a big, exciting announcement this week. We signed an agreement to acquire First National Bank in Howell. So that's going to really extend our geography into Livingston County. It'll bring us up over 300 employees. It takes 3 or 4 months to get through all the regulatory hurdles to close that transaction, but we're really excited about that. So again, welcome this morning.
That's a big deal. You guys have you started in how many years ago? 30 or 40?
96.
90? Oh, not that long ago. 96, yeah. Yep. And then spread out up 94, and you've gone up
yep.
to 75 to Birmingham, and now
right.
You're 96, so you got the whole area covered. Very
and
good.
Bank of Howell was started in 1891. Wow. So that's a bank. Yeah.
That might be older than anybody here.
I think
Kirk Douglas was going to make it, but didn't. Spartacus has fallen finally. So but it's a great thing, and the bank is a great place, and we encourage everybody to bank local because that's really keeps our economy strong. And also to have local offices. You want to come on up and talk about that? And I have you hold on just a second. I'm going to have Chris talk about Raymond, which also has spread out across the area. And talk about that.
Thanks, Rob. Hi guys, welcome. I'm wearing this jacket in solidarity of Austin and his wife Abby, volleyball 92, almost an Abby plate. Like the bank at Arbor, actually I think when Joan, I don't know if she's in the audience, first suggested I come to Leaders Connect, I think after attending the first event, I contacted Rob and said, what can Raymond do to keep this going? Because I go to a lot of networking events, as do many of you. This one is special. It's a special group of people. It's a special group of speakers. And it's a special purpose. So we're very, very proud to continue to support that, along with our good buddies in Arbor. Raymond is a very cool professional services firm. We do have 12 offices now in Michigan and another 8 spread across Florida and Ohio. I am joined today by my colleagues Michelle Hampton and Christy Lynn, and my former colleague Debbie Crone, one of my favorite people. Hi, Debbie. And I wanted to give a quick shout out to a friend of mine that I've invited, Brian Broom. Can you stand up, Brian? I won't say too much, don't worry. Brian, he and my husband grew up together in Dexter, and he is in transition after a wonderful 30-year career with Thomson Reuters. So I assured him this is a friendly group and that no one embraces transition like this group. So you're among friends here, Brian, and I hope you keep coming back.
What's his area of specialty?
Your area of specialty, yeah.
Just pitch for him. How about that?
Brian, he worked, help me with this, Brian. He was a reformed auditor, as I am. And he ran the product development group, a very, very large global group, through the creative solutions to the Thomson Reuters evolution. So he has a lot to share and a lot of experience. Thomson Reuters is a big giant in our town, but they're kind of quiet. So it's kind of cool to have Brian here to share all that wisdom.
All right, thank you. And we have Andrea, yes, to talk about Office Evolution, which is our newest sponsor. And maybe you can tell us what Office Evolution is.
So I didn't realize how many new people we had today, so I want to say welcome. Welcome to Leaders Connect. And second of all, I want to ask you guys if you know how hard it is to set this banner up when you're only 5'2". So I'm trying to give away free stuff today. I have in my pocket free passes to our co-working space, Office Evolution Ann Arbor. Rob said we're the newest sponsor because we opened in September of 2018, and I've been with them ever since. We specialize in private offices, co-working space, and meeting rooms. So generally we cater towards people who are entrepreneurs in the community, or maybe you work from home, but even if you don't, come see me after the event and I'll give you a free pass. I never give away free stuff, so that just shows you how much I like Rob. And have a good event, everyone. Thank you.
I was at a company that it's an old company, one of the oldest in the area since 1933. And they've been run by men. It's a family business. So the new generation that's taken over is women. It's O&W, which is a beer distributor. And so the new generation has 3 women and 1 man. So Kid, who's the woman now who's going to run the company, gets up to write on the whiteboard yesterday, and the whiteboard is like at her eye level, at the bottom of it. So she, so somebody says, there's going to be a lot of changes as women run this company. This is a 6'2" whiteboard, not for a 5'5" woman. So we'll see whiteboards dropping, and a lot of things changing in the world as you women finally lead us into some sanity. Let's hear it for that. And that's the only comment I'll have on politics this week. I have some other great announcements, and I wanted to point out some people. One person I want to just say I'm really honored to have here, and he's somebody that's been in the community since 1955, and all of you probably know this name. This is David Cole. David, can you stand up? I don't know where you are out there. Right here. Thank you, David. David, come on up. It's kind of hard to get around. I'll just pass the mic. I just lost the mic. I think we lost our power supply and the music went on. Somebody can check on it. David, that's happens every time. You should say where you are, where you're working these days. That music is not in your office. It's not working right now.
This is your walk-up song.
Well, actually my voice is loud enough so that I Yeah, I'm just an old guy that came here as a student in 1955, went through a bunch of degrees at U of M, stayed on the faculty, was involved in starting the Center for Automotive Research, have been involved in a bunch of startup companies in Ann Arbor over the years, and now, in the last couple of weeks, moved out of my office at the university, so I'm really thinking about retirement. You can tell.
No way, please.
Well, I'm retired from having an office at the university. I have one at home, and fortunately my wife puts up with me, and but the real pleasure today is to have a chance to hear Austin. Austin is a wonderful young man, and he found my oldest granddaughter here at the University of Michigan. And in fact, it was kind of an interesting story because her goal back when was to play in the Olympics, and she got the three-time All-American in volleyball. She ended up with a stress fracture. She met Austin and said that he's my future. And he's just an absolutely fabulous young man, and we feel real privileged that he's a part of the family. He's, in fact, at some point they'll probably have kids, and what their coaches.
No pressure.
It's great to have grandkids. I'm not sure how great it is to have great grandkids. I'm not sure how great it is to have great grandkids because you have to be really old to have them. But their coaches told them after they got married that you'll call them babies, we'll call them recruits. And but it's this young man is really special in so many different ways, and I'm just delighted to be a part of the group listening to him today.
Thank you. Applauses for everything you've done for the community. We hope to have a program on the future of the auto industry in 2021. And David has agreed to be part of that, so that'd be very exciting. I also want to bring up Christian. Can you come on up here now? We've got an announcement. Some of you may know, you've wondered probably, there's this big lights out on Stadium, and people wonder, what is that big thing? That's a football field out there. And you might wonder what guys do on that. Well, they get dressed up in their nice blazers, and they go out and just talk, right? So Christian is a fine Michigan football player, and he's got something he wants to talk to the audience about.
How y'all doing? Y'all gotta bear with me, I'm kind of nervous.
It's early, it's very early.
Like you said, I'm a student athlete here at the University of Michigan. I feel highly blessed to have the opportunity to be able to play football and learn from such a prestigious university. But I know there's people out there that didn't grow up as fortunate as I did. Maybe they've lived in poverty, the environment they've been surrounded in. And I wanted to kind of start a program for them because a lot of them have developed a stagnant mindset to where they don't believe they can be someone great due to their environment. And I want to start a virtual mentorship program for student athletes such as myself, or anybody who feels like they've established a platform so where they can be able to inspire others, who will be able to connect with these teenagers. I wanted to be able to do it for like local school systems, maybe the Boys and Girls Club. Maybe eventually one day I'll be able to connect with Big Brothers and Sisters Foundation and just let these teenagers know that a lot of their backgrounds are not so much different than people like me who are still trying to become someone great, but I feel like I'm on the right path.
I think there's some people here that probably could help you, and I'm wondering how they can connect with you. What would be the best way to reach you? Or can you hang out a little bit and maybe talk after the program? Okay, and is there an email that's good for you to be reached if we don't get that?
Yes. My email is turn, TURNE, CHR at umich.edu.
Say it one more time.
Turn, TURNE, CHR at umich.edu.
Okay, so maybe you'll hang out here, and also you can email me if you want to get in touch. But you were mentioning, is there anybody from schools out here? I think we usually have some people from the schools. And anybody from the boys club or any of those kind of clubs that Christian mentioned that might be on the boards or any of that? All right, well, we'll look for some people that help you out. I'm sure there's lots of connections here. Thank you for coming. I had, telling Christian, the students, athletes are pretty amazing. And anybody remember Jabril Peppers? I'm sure you all remember Jabril, who was one of the great stars. And he was in my class, actually the same class as Austin, and called me at the beginning of the year. And he's coming back to finish his degree. And it's something he promised himself. And so he's taking full load this semester. He's doing an independent study with me on some of the disparities and how much people get paid, you know, the way that the players are exploited. So the high draft picks get a lot of money, but the rest won't get much of anything. So he's going to do a research paper on that, and he's also very dedicated in his community, which is outside of New York. He's now with the Giants to do that. So thank you for coming. I also wanted to just say we have a workshop. Steve, can you just stand up and say hi? Steve Zingerman, who had many of the running fit stores. Probably some of you have some shoes on your feet that you bought at Running Fit. He and I have been doing a workshop called Finding Your Career Sweet Spot. And this is for people to sort of figure out that right point where their passions, their unique strengths, their life values, and their desire for money come together. So if you're interested in working on that, you're in transition, or if you know some young people that might want to participate, it's the 26th, February 26th, at my office on Avis Farm. So if you're interested, please come, and I'll talk to Steve afterwards. He'll be here, and he can tell you more about the program. I'm trying to remember, I think I've covered all the major announcements, so we're going to get on with the program. So it's my pleasure to bring up Austin, and as I mentioned, the way the program is going to go, Austin, who was my student a few years ago, is going to talk to us about his journey and how he has faced and dealt with adversity. I'm saying overcoming adversity. I'm not sure adversity is something you ever overcome. You learn to live with because it's part of your life. And then after Austin and I talked for a while, Doug Stotler, did I say that right, Doug? Is going to talk. And Doug was the CEO of Conway here in Ann Arbor, and he also had a tragic loss and has started a foundation called Grieve Well, correct? And we don't charge for these events, but we do ask the participants to support a nonprofit. And every month we have a different nonprofit. So today we're going to talk about Grieve Well and discuss how you might be able to get involved in that either as a donor or a counselor, or the many, many ways. But we're going to start first with Austin. Come on up, Austin. And I think many of you know Austin, but already let's give him a hand. Austin, I'm just going to turn this over to you, and you can sit or talk or however you like to do that. But I know that you've graduated a couple years ago and are on a speaking career, so this is an opportunity to speak and to let people know what you're doing and maybe book you into their environments as well. So here you go.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rob. I appreciate the opportunity. It's an honor and privilege to be before you guys this morning. Thank you very much. Guys and ladies, excuse me. Thank you very much for having me, and I do appreciate it. It's an honor, as I mentioned. My life experiences have given me a unique opportunity to add value by providing hope, maybe providing perspective that we can overcome anything and put our minds to it and work for it, right? It's not going to be easy. If it was easy, everyone would be great. We're all going to face things. Everyone's got challenges of their own. For those who don't know my story, I was tragically involved in 2 plane crashes that claimed the lives of my family, my immediate family. But it's given me an incredible opportunity to inspire other people. Since I've been able to make a pretty good comeback with the help of countless people, doctors, nurses, therapists, family, friends, people across the country praying for me that I'll never meet, that I'll never even know. Those people are on the team that help me get better too, as far as I'm concerned. And I believe that now, given the fact that we made a pretty solid comeback, still got work to do. As my wife, she probably said, I got a lot of work to do. yeah, I feel blessed to be in this position and blessed to be able to share some of the things I've had to learn the hard way. I do believe that we can overcome anything we put our minds to if we're willing to work for it. It's not going to be easy. We're going to have to give a little extra, maybe a lot of extra work, put in a lot of extra time, and I think we got to surround ourselves with people who help us be the best we can be, help us overcome, and who will hold us accountable, right? Because if we set a goal, after the second accident, I was in a coma for like 2.5 months, and I had this goal of getting to Michigan, right? But if I'm not working hard enough to achieve that goal, I either got to change my actions and start working harder, or I got to change my goal of getting to Michigan. And I think that as leaders, all of us in the room, I think we have a responsibility to lead by example. And not everyone's going to be the CEO or the senior leader of an organization, but as husband and wives, father, leading our family, leading our group of friends, whatever the organization is, I think we all have a responsibility to lead by example. And I was very blessed to be around some of the greatest leaders some of the greatest leaders ever, as far as I'm concerned. One of those is Coach Beeline. And he talked about, so I actually did an independent study on leadership my senior year of college at Michigan, and studied a lot of great leaders, from Patrick Doyle's former CEO of Domino's to Coach Beeline, obviously, and several others. And Coach Beeline said that a leader is someone who's very humble, yet very confident, and who others will follow, because the leader has shown that he genuinely cares about those that he's leading, right? If you look at Coach Beeline, I think we can all agree that he's an incredible leader while I was at Michigan, and he still is, and he's doing great things with the Cavs. And I think part of the reason that people bought in is because he showed that he genuinely cared about it. It's like, for me, obviously I couldn't play the way I hoped to when I committed, but Coach B, he followed through his commitment. He offered me a scholarship, and I was playing at a pretty high level, right, relatively high. He saw potential in me. He didn't offer me that scholarship and say, you know what, you're good enough right now, let's start with that.
That's a cheery.
Yeah. but I believe that, the way his follow-through is so powerful, because, I think we can all make it a priority to follow through in every commitment we make every single day. Whether it's a big commitment like offering me a scholarship, or it's a smaller one, like commitment to our families, a commitment to our coworkers, whatever it may be. If we make it a priority to follow through in every commitment we make every single day, I think that's going to make a really positive impact on our teams and our organizations as well. So,
great. I know you've come up with a kind of a formula. I think you call it grit, and maybe you could discuss that. I know when you came to our class, he came back as a teacher to the class and taught the students and inspired them with this idea. So maybe you could discuss that concept that you've come up with and why it's important to you.
Absolutely. So grit, it's a pretty hot topic nowadays. A lot of people have talked about it. It seems like a pretty good idea, pretty good trait for people and for organizations to possess. It's been said that grit's about working for the long term. About being consistent over the long term, not engaging in intense action in the short term, but about being consistent in the long term. That's true. And I think, grit's obviously about, working hard and sticking at it, staying with it despite the adversity. That's very true. And persevering. Angela Duckworth, the lady at one of the missions of the East Coast, the University of Pennsylvania, she said that grit's passion and perseverance for her long-term goals, and that it's about sticking with your future, day in and day out, not for a week or a month, but that grit's about sticking with your future for years. That's true. But I think grit applies to everything we do every single day. I think you can apply it to everything we do every single day. And I believe that there's 4 key components to grit, but I think it's driven by knowing our purpose first and foremost. We got to do work we don't have to do, but I think it's much more effective, and it's very important to work for something bigger than ourselves, because if we're working just for ourselves, at a certain point in life, we're probably going to hit something. We're going to face some form of adversity that will probably cause us to give up if we don't have a driving force for why we do what we do. Whatever the driving force is, your faith, your family, your friends, your coworkers, your teammates, whatever that driving force is, it's different for everyone in the room. But I think it's important to recognize that and keep that on top of our mind, because we're going to go through things. Life's going to happen, and challenges are going to come. But I think if we learn to use that adversity right, it'll buy us to take you to a place we couldn't have gone any other way. And I stand sitting before you this morning, the challenges I face, obviously I would do anything to make sure those days never happen. But since they did, I mean, now I'm in an incredible position to provide value and inspire other people and share some of the things I learned the hard way that can hopefully be of value to other people. So, and then work for that greater purpose, I think that drives the 4 key components of grit, which are the G stands for the growth mindset. The growth mindset views every setback as an opportunity. The growth mindset believes that even when we inevitably fall short of something, even fall short of a goal, even when we inevitably fail or miss our marks for the quarter or a year, the growth mindset believes that's not a permanent condition. The growth mindset believes we can use anything we experience to get better. Coach Beeline at Michigan, the growth mindset was one of our core values. And whenever we would lose a game that we shouldn't have, we didn't lose many games we shouldn't have, fortunately, but when we did, he would come in the locker room after the games, and yes, he'd be disappointed, but he'd say, we're going to watch the film of a game, we're going to watch the film and find a way to get better from it, right? Because the adversity happened, the loss happened, whatever your circumstance may be. For me, the accidents happened. I can't control them, but I knew I had complete control over how I chose to respond. And I think that everyone in the room is facing something. And I would guess that no one wished that circumstance on themselves. But since it happened, I think we can decide to find a way to get better from it. So I had that growth mindset that will drive us to make the decision to be resilient. And the R stands for the decision to be resilient. We're never a product of our circumstances, but the product of how we choose to respond. And when we make the decision to be resilient, we focus our time and energy on our response to the adversity we face, rather than focusing on the adversity itself, rather than spending time dwelling on the negative circumstances. Because it's easy to get caught up. Oh, why did this happen to me? How much easier would my life have been had this not happened? Man, I didn't deserve this. That's fair, and I had those thoughts. I'm not going to tell you I didn't, but I quickly learned that dwelling on the past, dwelling on the circumstances, is not going to make it any better. You will say things get better with time, I'll be sure. But if you do nothing in that time, nothing's going to happen. So I think we got to make the decision to be resilient and make it a priority to focus on our response to the adversity that we face, rather than focusing on the adversity itself. So whenever adversity happens, I think we'll kind of subconsciously ask ourselves 3 questions. The first question, when adversity happens, what does this mean? Is it the beginning or the end? Is it the end of this chapter? Is it the end of life as I knew it? Or is it just the beginning of a new chapter, right? And I think it's important to look at it as the beginning of a new chapter, because we approach things differently if it's the beginning than we do it at the end, right? You go into a lot of times we'll go into a game and it'll be tough. You'll play the first half really hard, but then if you're down 20 at halftime, a lot of teams don't come back in the second half and just play as hard as they did in the first half, right? Or that's just one example, but I think that we got to approach things that, I'm not saying ignore the loss or ignore the adversity, because obviously we're all facing something. We're all facing something big, but I think we got to approach it as, okay, you know what? I didn't wish this on myself, but I'm just going to look at this as the start of something new. The second question is, what are we going to focus on? Are we going to focus on the fact that, that this unlucky break happened? We're going to focus on that, man, why did this happen? Or are we going to focus on, like I mentioned in the beginning, okay, this is presenting me with a challenge. I'm going to spend my time, my energy, focus on my response to it, because I can't control it. I can't control the event, but the economics of my time. Since I have a Ross professor here, the economics of my time it's much better use of my time to spend it on my response than it is to spend that time on focusing on the event, because the event happened. Focusing on it, dwelling on it, wishing it didn't happen. Unfortunately, that's not going to change anything. For me, it would have been awesome. I wish that if I would have spent 24 hours a day dwelling on the loss, I wish I would have changed things, right? But it wasn't going to, obviously. So I made the decision to focus on my response, and metaphorically speaking, I was dealt a, maybe you could say I was dealt a tough hand, a bad hand. But I'm still going to win the game. Or maybe I was playing I was metaphorically, maybe I was the George Mason. Remember George Mason went to the Final Four like 10 years ago or whatever. They faced, obstacle, right? They were the underdog. And I looked at it as my life, okay, I'm not projected to get to Michigan. It's not like people aren't expecting me to go to Michigan, graduate, get a good job, marry the most amazing woman in the world, outkick my coverage like everyone else in the room. Every other man. But someone's got to do it, right? So why not us? But yeah, so, and then the last component of grit, the third component, so I call it growth mindset drives the decision to be resilient. The I in grit is the decision to live with integrity. And of course, we all know that integrity is about being honest, doing the right thing, no one is looking. But I think especially in the context of overcoming a challenge, integrity is about following through on our commitments. It's about doing what we said we would do, especially when our circumstances change. And of course, we got an offer from a scholarship when I was playing at a pretty high level, as I mentioned. And the accident happened 9 days later, and I couldn't play the way he thought I was going to play. I couldn't fulfill what he recruited me to do. Obviously, it was a unique circumstance, but his follow-through and his offer didn't depend on whether or not I could get. Obviously, it was out of my control. And I worked hard to make the best comeback that I could, but he made an offer, so he followed through on it. He didn't say, yeah, awesome, you know what, I'm going to offer you a full scholarship to play in Michigan. That's only good if you can fulfill your side of the deal. Obviously, he expects that of people, right? We all should expect that of people that would make commitments with, but I think when unique circumstances happen, when things come up, or when another person can't follow through for whatever reason, I think as leaders, we should make it a priority to follow through, regardless, because if we make a commitment and we honor it, what kind of example is that set for our team? I mean, what person on the team, if they see their coach, their leader, following through and doing the right thing, what player wouldn't want to give everything they have for that leader, right? So I think that when we make the decision to live with integrity, we do something else is we do the common thing in an uncommon way. You know, we don't just make commitments, we stay true to them, we follow through, we make it a priority to make a big impact on our team as well by doing that thing right. The last component, grit, is the T, is the team first mentality. I think we got to think about the we before the me. I think we got to think about the we as an hour. What can we do to help the we succeed, rather than focusing on the me? You know, and we got to remember that a rising tide can lift all boats. Obviously, we're all leaders, and you guys are all leaders in the room. But if we can fill our roles a little bit better, that can raise the standard of excellence and performance and achievement of the whole team. So I think we got to make it a priority to think about the team first and always do the best we can to fill our roles to the best of the ability. So that's essentially the grit message, and I think that, you know, in fact, for me, at Michigan, I would have loved to play, have a role in the court. Who knows how good I would have been if nothing happened. And I'm not going to say I would have been, you know, whatever. Maybe I would have had a good career. I think I would have. But since I couldn't play on the court, made it a priority to fulfill my role to the best of my ability. And if all I could do was shag balls in practice, contest shots, and shoot around, rebound for guys, and unload the luggage on road trips, I made it a priority to do that to the best of my ability. And I know none of you guys will have had the pleasure or privilege of seeing me unload bags on road trips. I just want you guys to know, just take it for what it's worth. Some people say Michigan people are arrogant. You just may be supporting that fact. But I was probably one of the most efficient unloaders of luggage. That's all I could do to help the team. That's what I could do to help the team. And you know, a rising tide can lift up boats. If my teammates saw me in practice, so we would finish a drill. Coach Beyond would not like the outcome, which pretty often. He had high standards, right? And if you practice perfect, you'll do better in the games, right? But you know, he wouldn't like the outcome of the drill, and he'd blow his whistle and say, "Give me a 30-second suicide." I probably ran about 1,000 suicides while I was in college over my 4 years, and around there, just make math easy. And I finished last. If finishing second to last was the equivalent of like a win, I was 0 for 1,000. I finished last every single time. But I mean, I ran as hard as I could, and my teammates saw me giving everything I had. Maybe make them want to give a little extra too. I have no idea if that actually happened. But you know, my thing is that, as I mentioned before, a rising tide can lift all boats, and if if our teammates see us giving everything we have and doing our best to help the we succeed, I think that'll help the whole team succeed. So,
a question for you. So, following your career, I do believe you got into a game at the end of your career. Is that correct?
at the beginning.
At the beginning. Okay.
Yeah.
Could you talk about that? Because you're talking about what the coach did for you, but I'm thinking with Christian out here and a lot of other young people, how do the players react? Because these are kids like you that didn't really have this kind of experience. How did they support you, and what was that like to actually be able to get in the uniform and play, and what did that mean for you?
Yeah, it was amazing. You know, obviously coming from where I came from after the second accident, you know, I was coming out of a coma, learning how to walk and talk again and do all that. And, you know, obviously Michigan, getting to Michigan, that was the goal the whole time. That was obviously a lofty goal, coming from where I came from. And just amazing that, you know, Coach Beeline, and not only honored my scholarship, but the way he honored my scholarship. He didn't make me feel like I was like a charity or whatever. It didn't make me feel like he was doing it just because he had to. He honored my scholarship the right way. He said after my senior year, after the national championship in San Antonio, met with him in his office, and he said, Austin, there's not a coach in the country who wouldn't have honored a scholarship. And so yeah, that might be true, but I guarantee there's no coach in the country who would have followed through on his commitment and honored my scholarship the way he did. Right? It's not what he did, it's how he did it. And yeah, I mean, just the fact that I had the opportunity to get in the game and score was incredible. And not that, you know, I made a...
Who was that against? Who were you playing?
So we played against, I made a free throw against Wayne State and a free throw against Collins State. Which is cool. So I made 2 free throws in my career mission. That sounds great. I mean, 2 free throws is great, but you know, it's 2 free throws is better than none. But I was 1 of 2 against. I think it was 1 of 2 against Wayne State. I got fouled, and we were in the bonus at the time, so I got 1-on-1. And I made the first one, missed the second. And then against Cotton State, I thought I had the green light, and so I was open for 3, and I pulled the trigger, and I got fouled on it. So I didn't make the 3. I mean, it would have been nice if I did, but I missed the free throw, and I went 1 of 3 from the free throw line. So I mean, scoring a free throw, scoring at all was great, right? And who would have thought that I would have been able to score at all? But something I'm not too proud of. So I 1 of 2 in the exhibition game against Wayne State, and 1 of 3 in the game against Collins State. So using my prestigious Michigan education, so 1/2 times 1/3, it's about 18%, right? I'm a career 18% foul shooter, which is, and it's probably one of the lower ones in Michigan history.
I have a comment on that, but you've made the biggest rebound of anybody. I was thinking about Coach Beeline and Mr. Drummond getting traded to the Cavaliers. And this just happened, I guess, this week. Did you follow that story? Yeah, Drummond was traded to the Cavaliers. And he's only like about 25, I think. He started as a baby. So I think it's going to be a great thing for him to have that coach and really bring him to another level. So that's pretty exciting. But can you tell, well, I'm going to bring David Doug up for a second. If you could kind of come up here, Doug, and maybe you could join us. And I'll give you a chance, Doug, to sit here and maybe you could tell, you have any questions for Austin. I know you've been working on this a lot through your foundation, so I'll let you carry on the conversation.
Sure. Austin, it's a pleasure to meet you today.
You as well.
And I just want to tell you how much I appreciate what you're doing. Talking about your experience. Having suffered tragedy in my own life, when you're in that pit of despair after a major loss, you really look for inspiration anywhere you can find it. And understanding what you've been through, the adversity you came through, the losses that you've had in your life, would have certainly provided me with inspiration had I known that at the time. And so I certainly appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you very much.
If I could share my story quickly, I'd like to do that so it puts it in perspective. But I was living here in Ann Arbor with my family in Dexter. I had 2 young daughters and my wife Julie. I was working at Conway as the Executive Vice President of Operations for the national trucking fleet. And that morning I left for Dallas to go to a business meeting in Texas. And I got a call early that afternoon that our daughter Lauren had been run over in front of our home by her school bus driver and was killed. And clearly, you know, it puts you in a place that you can never imagine having been. I traveled back that evening to Michigan. My wife was surrounded by approximately 100 friends at the University of Michigan Hospital in a conference room. The whole community really coalesced around us, and it really became a loss of a tragedy that the community experienced. All the churches in our community participated in her service. The people that came out for the funeral was pretty amazing. But you are put in a place that you can never imagine being. You certainly can appreciate that. And the despair is incredible. The emptiness, the lack of hope. You can never imagine experiencing joy again. It's just a dark hole that you're in. And what we found, and what I found in particular, was that any inspiration I received or any hope that there was going to be joy again came from talking with people who had already walked the walk once, who had suffered a tragedy, had gotten to the other side, and could actually provide a glimpse that you're going to experience joy again. You'll actually look forward to the sun rising. You'll look forward to moving forward. And from that day, when you start to that, you start to get a glimpse of it. So my wife, after she had acclimated to her loss, I thought she had a gift for helping other people. And she was connected with other families who had lost children in our community, and I think provided inspiration to them on their grief journey. In 2005, I got promoted to CEO of the parent corporation at Conway, which was CNF at the time, and I moved to our corporate headquarters in Palo Alto, California.
Birds flying in here, don't worry.
And my wife discovered an organization there called CARA, which provided peer-led grief services, which was exactly what she was actually doing here in Ann Arbor on her own, but didn't realize there was actually a program for this. So she took the training, became a peer counselor in California, and then me, being the genius CEO that I was, realized that none of the benefits of living in Silicon Valley applied to a trucking company. I moved the corporate headquarters back here to Ann Arbor in 2008, and my wife, when we came back, decided to bring the CARA model with her. CARA didn't want to allow her to replicate the model, so she has a great friend here, Christy Miller, who's an MSW, and they recreated the training. And we opened a nonprofit here in Ann Arbor in 2009 called GrieveWell. And it was originally called the Kite Network. We changed the name a few years ago to more reflect what it's all about. But GrieveWell finds people that have acclimated to a grief journey and bring them in and train them to be peer counselors, and then match them up with people that have had a loss. So it could be loss of a spouse, loss of a child, loss of a parent. And we just help them with the grief journey. And it's really someone that's going to listen. It's not someone that's really providing a lot of advice. But there's an awful lot of things that happen in the first couple of years after a loss that you're not expecting. Like the anticipation of a holiday, or an upcoming birthday, or just some events that put you into a hole that you're not expecting. And we're just there to help and support those in their grief journey. And then hopefully those folks will want to give back and become peers for the organization and also help in the process. The one other thing that has been started over the last couple of years with GrieveWell is the fact that we're providing some training in the workplace for HR departments. Companies aren't particularly well at knowing how to welcome back people that have suffered a loss into the workplace. I know when I came back, and I was used to, at least I thought I functioned at a high level in the workplace, but when you come back, you're in a fog. You can't concentrate, you can't focus. It's hard to really be able to do your job. Ordinary routine tasks are very difficult. And most people don't know how to react to you. They don't know how to engage you, how to talk to you. They don't understand whether you want to talk about it or you don't want to talk about it. They're just very standoffish. And so Greenwell provides now opportunities for employers to train their HR functions and help with the grieving process. So in a nutshell, that's what Greenwell does. I'd like to introduce Christy Miller. Christy, I think you're here. Christy's our MSW. And Carol Lesher. Carol's our executive director. So if anyone of you'd like to get involved with Greenwell, we certainly invite you to participate and help those in our community. We're celebrating our 10-year anniversary this year, and it's been a great journey. And Austin and I were talking earlier, and it feels good to be able to take your tragedy and try to turn it into something positive for others. And I think that's how we honor the loved ones that we lost. And so, thank you for giving me the platform to be able to talk about Greenwell.
Thank you for doing that. Let's hear it for. Ask you, Austin, in terms of this, people approaching you, what advice do you have? Let's say for people that want to talk to you, they know your story. So and most people know your story in Ann Arbor. But I suppose if you get on an airplane or you're somewhere else and don't know it, how do you feel? What is supportive? Is there anything that people should not be doing in terms of trying to talk about that? How do you handle that?
Yeah, so I feel blessed to be in a position to, inspire a lot of people. And fortunately or unfortunately, my story was pretty public when it happened because I committed to Michigan 9 days before. It was the second plane crash that I was in, right, which is obviously not common at all. And so I was a big story.
What are the odds of that? You were telling me later.
Yeah, so according to an MIT statistician, not quite a Michigan statistician, According to an MIT statistician, the odds of surviving one plane crash with at least one fatality is 1 in 3.4 million. So it's pretty slim. And again, using my prestigious University of Michigan education, the odds is so I survived 2 plane crashes with multiple fatalities, tragically. Fortunately, but tragically. So 1 in 3.4 million times 1 in 3.4 million is 1 in 11 quadrillion, 560 trillion. That's a 14-digit number, so I don't even know how many times the world population is that. Several. I don't even know whatever 11 quadrillion, 560 trillion divided by 7 billion is. If there's any math majors out there,
we have auditors though.
Tax people, I'm sure it should have been an easy calculation, but yeah. So the odds that I shouldn't be alive, statistically speaking, I shouldn't be. But obviously I am. So I think there's a purpose for my life, and I think part of it is using what I've been through to help other people. With the loss that we've experienced, obviously it's very tragic, of course. But we feel blessed, with what you've done. Very cool what you've gone through with your tragedy and starting an organization you have. And I feel that what I'm doing now is paying it forward and honoring my family. Because I know this is what they've wanted to do if they were here. So, yeah, it's a blessing to be in a position to help others, and I think that just thinking about that team first. If we can, even though we go through something tragic, I think we can. Hopefully, no one in the room goes through anything as tragic as what we have. But everyone's going to face someone. Everyone's going to face something. Everyone's going to face a big one of some kind. So I think that. Again, not to diminish it or not to just quickly move past it, because we're obviously never going to move past what we've lost. But I think it's just a decision to prioritize, to focus on what we're blessed to have. We've obviously lost a tremendous amount. I can't imagine what it's like to lose a child. But I try to focus on look at the glasses half full rather than half empty.
Well, thank you very much for that. And I'd like to now turn this back. I know many of you, and it's interesting, just scanning the crowd, I can think of people who have lost children in the audience. I know people who have lost adult children. I know many of you have lost jobs. Many have had health crises. We did a program last year on people who are getting through cancer, and what it's like to live knowing that you have stage 4 cancer. And I think these are the things that really test us in our hearts and make us stronger if we can survive, and sometimes we fall apart and we have to support other people. But I just wonder if we could take a few minutes, and this is a very emotional topic, but maybe in groups of 3 or 4, discuss what you're hearing from Austin and from Doug, and maybe share anything that you have that is being evoked by this, and then perhaps come up with some questions for Austin or for Doug that might help them enable them to help you through answering those questions. So let's take about 10 minutes and talk among yourselves about this, and we'll go from there. Austin, if you could talk about how you met your wife and with that, how she's been important. I tell these students that I have in my class who are all raw students, don't just think about getting through getting a job, but this is a good place to meet a mate. And I'm going to be married July 4th. I'm going to be married 50 years to a young lady that I met at the University of Michigan. So it's a lot harder to go out there after Michigan and try to find somebody when you're working at the Thomson Reuters or I talked to somebody last night who made 2 years at what's the car company, the hot car company now? Tesla, yeah. And the guy just about died from the hard work there. Certainly didn't mean a mate. But could you just talk about how you met your wife and what she's meant to you in this process of getting to where you are?
Yeah, my wife Abby, I outkick my covers big time. And she's one of the greatest I've ever met. Probably the greatest. Obviously, I'm a little biased, but.
How did you meet her?
I was taking a Spanish class the fall of my freshman year, and then I learned that my major may not require it, so I wanted to take something that could be beneficial no matter what I studied, a good prereq for. Went to business school. I majored in organizational studies, which is like a program at Ross, but it's technically through LS&A, but it's essentially Ross. I took a lot of classes there, took marketing, classes with Dr. Rob and stuff, and accounting, all that. So I transferred into Poli-Sci 101 from Spanish, because I didn't think my major would require it. I didn't know. I thought Poli-Sci would be a good thing to have on a transcript, and just a good thing to learn about overall. And so the class was divided into 3 lecture halls organized by last name. Poli-Sci 101 is a huge, intro class for freshmen or sophomores. It's for a lot of majors. And so the lecture was organized by last name. My wife's maiden name was Cole. She's Grandpa Cole's granddaughter. And so she was in one class, and then someday, for some reason, she got transferred into another lecture hall. Maybe she heard I was there. I don't know. But so she got transferred in the lecture hall that I was in. I was sitting there, and she walked in late, which is, I don't know, too uncommon for college girls to walk in constantly late. And so she was looking for a seat, and I had a seat next to me. I flagged her down. I was trying to be a great teammate, right? And I had a seat next to me. I flagged her next to me, and sat next to me, and then I asked for her number. Class, that not to beat you forward, but asked for her number, and then she asked if I wanted to ride home after class, and I said no. So it's kind of mixed messages. I don't think she really knew what was going on. This is what she says at least. So, but then she came into class the next day, sat next to me again. We hit it off, and I asked her to be my girlfriend like two months later, month and a half later, and then 3.5 years later, after her graduation, I proposed, and about 14 months after that, after I graduated, we got married. She was a year ahead of me in school. I was originally in the same recruiting class. She played volleyball in Michigan, and I was in the same recruiting class as her originally, but because of the second accident that I was in, I missed a year of high school, so I graduated a year late. But yeah, so I graduated. So
how's the influence of having an important person like that in your life? How has that helped in your journey?
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. And she holds me accountable. And we hold each other accountable, right? And you know, being able to have a level of personal accountability is very important. But I think we've got to have people in our life who hold us accountable too, and who, you know, I talk about that team first mentality, right? And you know, business is a team, sports are a team. Marriage is the epitome of a team. Maybe marriage is more of a team than anything else. And they're just different. And, you know, it's great. And I feel like I was telling Dr. Rob, after all that I've been through, so when I was in the coma that I was in after the second accident, the doctors told my family that, you know, we hope he wakes up. I can't guarantee that he ever will. And if he does, I don't know he's ever going to walk again or talk again. It's tough to hear. I'm sure it's tough to hear from my family, right? But, you know, now I graduated from Michigan, married the girl of my dreams, and then speaking for a living. I mean, it's just like,
Forget the dog.
oh yeah, I mean, I have a golden retriever puppy. He's one of the best. I mean, so it's like, if you look at all that I've lost, and of course I'm not diminishing that. I mean, it's terrible all that I've lost, and I wish I would do anything in my power to have my family with us, but I shouldn't have it this good after all that I've been through. The glass is half full.
So are you ready for a few questions, gentlemen? Anybody have a comment or question? Yes, right here. Go.
I have a comment. My name's Tammy Carr, and I also lost a child. And I just wanted to say thank you to both of you. I never went through the real official grieve well, but I knew Julie and Doug, and having that support, basically I went through the system because I had that peer-to-peer that really knew where I was. And Austin, for my sons to be able to see someone like you who has gotten through so much. As a parent, when you lose a child, your other children, for me, that was my most important thing I thought about, was were they going to be okay? And you allow them to see somebody, and they're athletic and athletes, and I was able to say, look at this young man. Look at what he has been through. You guys are going to be okay. So to both of you, Brewell's an amazing organization. So thank you for that. And Austin, thank you for being an amazing mentor, even though you didn't even know you were, to two boys who needed you.
Thank you very much. I think something we got to realize as leaders, as people in general, people are always watching. People you don't know, people you don't realize. And the way we're all going to face battles, we all face battles around. Everyone in the room's got something. And the people are going to watch how we respond to it, right? And if we can respond to it in a positive way or find a way to take a positive from it, people are going to know that, or are going to see that, and that's going to impact them. They're, oh man, if he can do it, why can't I? Or if she can't I? So I think that, you know, we got to think about, yeah, obviously when we lose something, it's very, for all of us, it's very easy to become inward focused and think that we're the only one who's, no one else knows what I'm going through. Like I'm just going to hold it all in because no one can relate. That may be true, but I think we got to find a way to, you know, respond to it in a positive way. Find a way to, I'm not going to say, you know, grow from the events. Like I didn't grow from losing my family. Neither of you grew from losing your children. But how we respond to it, it's like now you got other people, because like you mentioned, I didn't know about your boys. It's really cool, and the fact that they can look at me as someone, okay, now if he can do it, why can't I? And if you guys can get through it, you know, if someone else, I hope and pray no one else in and out loses something like you did. Probably, or in the country, someone probably will though, tragically. And if they can look at you two, and how do they do it? Okay, if they can do it, why can't I? So I think we gotta realize that, you know, even if we're not leading, like we don't have people in our circle who go through it, someone somewhere will see us. We'll notice. So.
Thank you. Anybody else? Anybody else? Yeah, in the back? Yeah, right there.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I do have a very quick comment and a very quick question. So thank you so much for sharing your story with us. Yeah, I'm an international student. I also lost my father last year. Yeah, he passed away in an accident and he was very young, only 55 years old. So yeah, I do understand your loss and I'm very happy to see what you guys achieved today. So, but my question is about leadership. I'm glad to hear you talk about leadership. So, my question is, with the development of artificial intelligence, so sounds like robots can do everything human do at the workplace except being a leader. So I would like to know, how do you think of that and how do we prepare for that? Thank you.
Well, thanks for your question. I'm so sorry for your loss. I'm so sorry. Yeah, you know, it's tough to put into words, but yeah, I'm just sorry for your loss. And but yeah, as far as leadership goes, you know, obviously you were a CEO, right? And I'm not a CEO. And
Yeah.
well, I guess technically, I guess I'm the CEO of Overcome LLC. You know what?
You already made it.
You know what? Well, hey, you know what? It's as of right now, it's a one-man show. So I guess I'm president, CEO, CFO, COO, CIO, VP of this, VP of that, technically. But yeah, you know.
And you can unload the
Yeah, you know what? We're all gonna have to do things that are like unloading the luggage, right? Yeah, you know. So I look at that as, I think it's the most. Obviously, I can't speak from experience, but it seems like from what I've learned about leadership, hopefully this is answer your question, is that the way I try to lead now, even though I'm not senior, is just by example. I'm not in a position where I can have people doing things for me where I can tell people what to do. Maybe I'll never be in that position, but we can all lead by example, even the most senior people. I mean, if Coach Beeline, if he just told us, oh, do X, do this, X, Y, and Z, but if he's not doing those things himself, like, I don't think people are going to be as willing to buy in. So I think that we all should make it a priority to lead by example, no matter how senior or how junior. So I think
you you told Doug and I a story about leadership of your dad at McDonald's.
Yeah.
That's another kind of leadership. Could you share that story?
Yeah. So like, you know, we all heard about servant leadership, right? And you know, Coach Beeline is a servant leader, and he leads by serving first. You know, he doesn't lead by serving and caring. As I said in his definition, you know, a leader is someone who's very humble yet very confident, and others will follow because he's shown that he genuinely cares about those he's leading. Yeah, so my dad and I, after the first accident, when I lost my mom in 2003, my dad and I would go to carpool with my best friend who lived on the north side of Fort Wayne. We lived on the north side too. And our school was on the southwest side, about 20 minutes away. My dad would drive us to school 2 days a week, and my best friend would drive us 3 days. And a couple days a week, we would go, maybe 3 days a week, we would go to McDonald's. There was a McDonald's right by my best friend's house. But we'd go there before we picked him up for school, and him and his sister. And the cashier, I can still see him in my mind's eye. I can't remember his name. But my dad did something, and obviously I wasn't really paying any attention to it at the time. I was, you know, we went there from like when I was 12 to about 16, 15. So for like 4 years, we were going there fairly consistently. And my dad did something to connect with that guy. I don't know what, but after my parents died, I don't know when this a few months ago. That guy, his name is Josiah. Josiah, and I learned that he was at my parents' funeral. You know, like, think of how many people that guy took people's money from. Think of how many people just said, here's my, you know, whatever, $5.50 or whatever it was, you know, for my drink and my breakfast sandwich or my drink and my chicken nuggets or whatever, right? But it's like my dad did something to connect with that guy at a deeper level. My dad did something to show that guy that he cared about him as more than just a cashier, more than someone just taking his money. And look, I mean, this may sound the wrong way, but my dad was a doctor and, you know, saw 50 or 60 patients a day, just grinding, right? Didn't usually skip lunch. He was 7:30 to 5:30, straight through. But my dad made it in some little extra effort to connect with that guy at a deeper level than most. And I'm not going to sit here and say that Josiah wouldn't have gone to anyone else's funeral if he learned that any of his customers died, right? But I think that it's powerful. Like, what did my dad do? And he didn't say, awesome, make sure you watch me, look how I'm connected with this guy. He just did it because it was the right thing to do. And you know, I think that, you know, as people in general, whether or not from a leadership standpoint or, you know, whatever it is, I think we just got to make it a priority to look at people like they're part of our team. And it doesn't matter who it is, anyone we interact with, I think they're a part of our team. And you know, just making that little extra effort to connect with people at a little deeper level, not only will that raise the level of performance of our organizations, but just making that positive impact on people. Maybe it's one person that we can connect with at a deeper level. I think it's powerful. And you know, I try to do that to this day. I try to treat everyone like, you know, like that, not like they matter, but treat everyone like they're important and like I really value it. So.
Sure, I'll just add a couple things and restate some of the things you just said. I think it starts with respecting everyone on the team. You can't lead people unless you show people that you care about them first. And then you have to honor all the values of the organization that you're espousing. So at the Conway organization, we have core values of safety, integrity, commitment, and excellence. Safety, number one, is showing people that you care about them, that you're willing to send them home in the same condition they came to work that day so they can go home and enjoy their families. And if you start there and you have integrity and you're willing to do that and support them and make sure you keep them safe, and in our case, at Conway, we drove 3 million miles a day. We had a lot of exposure to harm, and we did everything we could to keep those employees safe. And then the integrity, commitment, and excellence. And as a leader, if you don't demonstrate those things, even though you espouse those values, people aren't going to pay attention. Everything you do is through a megaphone. And so if you live those values every day, if you do the things necessary to support the core values of the organization, typically the organization will follow in suit, and you'll have an organization that's very healthy. If the leader does not espouse those values, the people are going to think it's BS, and none of them will follow it.
Thank you both for that comment about leadership. I was thinking about the story you told about McDonald's, because as I've studied leadership for 50-some years, one word begins to stand out more and more, and that's kindness. You know, and I think after all is kind of stripped away, kindness is what remains. And you know, people, we live in a society where there's a lot of harshness. I mean, you know, right in our own community of Saline right now, there's a big, ugly debate going on, and people are calling people out for their race, telling people to leave the community. They've been there for 18 years. And so we have a lot of ugliness around, but I think that what I've seen is that the people who are effective leaders and the people who are respected, it's interesting what people say at people's funeral, you know, I mean, and who comes to a funeral. And a lot of that is about their kindness. I mean, it's about the things that they left behind, the tracks in the sand, so to speak. So I think, you know, you could talk about the thousands of patients that your dad saw for pain. You may remember him, but the fact that he was kind enough to acknowledge somebody's making $5 an hour or whatever it was at the time and making an impact on that guy, that says a hell of a lot. And it says a hell of a lot about who you are today, too. So, you know, congratulations for carrying that tradition on, because I can see that kindness in you as well.
I got work to do.
Yeah, work to do. We all got plenty of work to do. You know, we have our moments. How many of you have had unkind moments in the last week? Yeah, so no, just a few, but you know, you remember the times that people have connected with you, and so when you go into a Rite Aid or go through a McDonald's, and you know, it's really important to acknowledge those people. And I think that's one of the takeaways I'm going to have. I wonder if some of you could huddle up just for another couple minutes and talk about what are some of the takeaways. We'll give back to Austin a little bit by telling him what you've learned from him. Not just saying, Austin, you're an amazing guy, which is fantastic, but also, you know, from you, as a result of hearing you talk today, I'm going to do the following. So maybe you could have that conversation and share some of these with people. What are some of the takeaways and lessons learned that you could take? Doug and Austin have learned tremendous lessons and they've had to go through a lot of pain to do that. But what are the lessons that we can carry forward from what we learned from them, and from each other? So take about 5 minutes to talk about that, and then we'll share those, and I'll actually, if you can pass them on to me, I'll try to post them in my blog on Monday, where I will be hopefully sharing your talk, either this Monday or the next Monday. So take 5 minutes, just what are the lessons you've learned from this so far today that you'd like to share with other people?
Okay.
Don't be shy.
We're worried that we're going to be live.
Good morning, I'm Julie Palmer. Living a commitment-driven life, that is what really anchors.
Slow that down.
Yes, living a commitment-driven life, rather than living in reaction to the circumstances that happen to you, choosing how you respond, and living into your commitments. I've seen time and time again what a transformative shift that really brings to individuals. I shared with these two, I witnessed a friend of mine, well, I didn't know her when we sat next to each other, the first day of training that we went through. But the instructor said, Gabby, I promise you, if you live a commitment-driven life and do nothing else, that will be enough. And at the end of our year-long journey, I saw this woman absolutely blossom and become confident and proud, and now she's one of the foremost female DJs in Detroit. So thank you for that. That was really, really beautiful.
Thank you very much.
Don't be nervous, Austin. I see the look on his face. So, our group.
Introduce yourself, Shelley.
Yes, thank you. I'm sorry. I'm Shelley Kovacs.
Shelley has been very dedicated to helping student athletes for many, many years through events, so give her applause.
Thank you. So one of the things that the three of us, Cliff Sheldon and Jeff Springer and I talked about was, kind of diving unknowingly, fearlessly into uncharted territory, because you end up where you are without knowing that you're going to be there, and it's hard. It's hard to see the forest from the trees, so to speak. We were also talking about the interesting dynamic between the two of you, and again, I'm so sorry for all of your losses. Doug lost a child, and Austin lost the family. So the difference in the dynamic between, the two of you has been very interesting to watch today. And, there's no, there's no way to, kind of isolate the variable, which is worse. Or, we also at some point talked about, is it better to lose? Better is a strange word to use in this context, but what's the difference between losing somebody that is ill and that you kind of over an illness and you have the chance to prepare for the loss and the chance to say goodbye, versus leaving work in the morning and not knowing that you're ever going to see that person again, or, just the immediacy. And I think you both have shared today thoughts about, in a way, it doesn't matter. It's still, the loss is the loss, however it happens. I want to share something personal, about Austin, because I first met Austin it was, I believe, at the NBA Top 100 camp, which I believe was the first time that you actually participated in something of that magnitude after the second accident. And Austin was not allowed yet to have physical contact, and he had a, what do you call those things? Not a jersey, but do you remember this?
Tim McCormick obviously played here, Michigan. And he ran NBA camp, NBA Top 100 camp, and invited me, because he called me up and said, hey, I want to invite you to this because you were thinking you had that, and that, which was cool. And I don't know if I would have deserved to actually be there, but I want to make you feel like I want to include you in this. So really, really powerful of him to do that for me. And it speaks to the power of the Michigan brand, right? I mean, the walk in, we look after each other. We should, at least.
But that's also a scenario very similar to what you said about time heals, but only if you do something with the time. So Tim probably didn't know it, but what he did by inviting you was as important for everybody else that was there as it was for you. And this was, as I said, very, very early in your journey, and how people interacted with you at that point, you know, I think was maybe a little over your head because you were just being you, and you were so glad to be there and so glad to be on a court. But the impact of you being there for the other 99 top 100 players and everybody else, you know, the staff and the family. I was there doing workshops, so I was talking to, you know, a lot of the other people there, but it's the lead by example part that is relevant here to me, that you didn't even know at that point that you were doing that. You know, like similarly to what Tammy said about the impact on her kids. So it's, and I think it ties into, you know, your comment also, which is live purposefully. And you were just doing what you knew how to do. And it didn't matter. I watched you on that court, and it didn't matter that you know, we're in a completely different place. There were 99 of the other top 100 basketball players in the country interacting, shooting, blocking, you know, ramming into each other, and you. And they all knew they couldn't, you know, hit you, but you just were in there doing your thing, and the impact that it had, you know, on everybody else. It was your early version of being the best luggage unloader. And it was in a way that you probably never even thought of. And I'm sorry, this is not kind of a one-on-one conversation between us, but what you said today, you know, made me think about this. It was very similar also to your dad. You know, it was your dad's McDonald's experience. You know, you impacted those around you in a way that you had no idea of the impact you were having at that point. So thank you for being you, I guess, is the bottom line. and thank you for changing the way that people throughout the country have really been able to deal with grief. I'm teaching a class right now, and after the Kobe and others incident, I scrapped the lecture for that day and talked about grief for college students, because my many years of working with college students really taught me that if the first time a college student experiences loss or death is at that point in their lives, they have no coping skills, because our culture does not deal with death as part of the life cycle. Sorry, I could go on for 50 more minutes.
We should probably let these folks get on to their lives, their work, and I think we've all been very inspired by you, Austin, and also thank you for coming, Doug. I think it's just very deep. I remember one of the experiences I had in my life was after September 11th. I was a psychologist that went to New York City and dealt with a lot of people who had survived the Twin Towers, but had also many of those people. It was a small community, actually, of people who were in investment banking, and it was a tremendous number of losses. And I remember talking to one man who somehow managed to survive on a floor that he shouldn't have, you know. And everybody said to him, like, oh, you know, this must have meaning. You must, what do you think God saved you for? You know, and the guy was angry as could be, because he said, what do you mean God saved me? I ran over old women to get out of here, and I did this and that, and you know, I'm resentful that it should be that there's some reason I've been selected. I mean, so much of life is randomness, and I think that this is what impacted the people after September 11th, the randomness of what happened. And I think, you know, as you talk about the one in trillions or whatever, and I think, you know, it's just miraculous. But you also think about how many sperms it takes to get inside an egg. You know, it's like, that's all who we are. I mean, there's several trillion of those, so that we're all randomly here, and what we make of life. That's right from the Harvey Weinstein trial there.
That's good to hear as we're preparing for that, right?
But you know, the light, I think things happen, shit happens, but it's what you make out of it. And you're doing a great job of making something important and sharing it with hundreds of people. And so could you just talk about your speaking career and kind of what has brought you there, and also if people are interested in having you speak to their organization, and how they might get in touch with you about that.
Yeah. So thanks for all the kind words. I really appreciate it. And yeah, it's a really an honor and privilege to be able to use what I've been through to help other people. And now it's my full-time vocation. So I'm traveling the country, speaking, sharing my story, talking about overcoming adversity, perseverance. Because as I mentioned earlier, everyone in the room's got something. Everyone in the room's got a battle of their own that most people in the room know nothing about. And so we've been through some big ones, right? Both of us. And I try to never assume that I know what other people are going through. But at the same time, I think it's a blessing to be in a position to be able to share some of the things that I've learned the hard way and use that to help others. Because as I mentioned, you don't know what someone's going through. And maybe that person has got this big hurdle, and they just need a little help to get started on their recovery to overcome it. And if I can be that, or if we can be that, that's a blessing. So yeah, we're building the business like anything in the early stages of building any organization. Things are a little bit slow in the beginning, picking up. So we did 7 in January, which is pretty good. If I could get to 2 a week for most of the year, that'd be awesome. But I'm not there yet. So we're gonna probably do maybe 50 or 60 this year, which would be awesome. Maybe that's a lot optimistic. Maybe 40. But yeah, it's we're just trying to bloom where we're planted, right? And trying to make the most of the opportunity that we're given. And I really, at this point, it's got to make sense for us. For me, at this point, I can't pay hundreds or a couple $1,000s to go somewhere and speak. But if it makes sense with our schedule, and we can, maybe I can get some of the expenses covered, I can basically go anywhere. As long as I don't have any conflicts. My wife's got some things planned for us this year. So I was like,
how can people reach you? What is your email?
Yeah, so my email is that I use right now is ajhatch, like Austin James Hatch is my name, so ajhatch@umich.edu. But we're in the process of getting a website, and so hopefully that'll, have an email at overcomeit.com. So the title of my presentation is Overcome It. And everyone's got to overcome something. Everyone in the room's got something. I'm sure there's something that everyone is thinking about in their minds right now. That, oh man, I'm trying to overcome this, but it's just weighing on me, and I just haven't been able to for whatever reason. And I feel blessed to be in a position to hopefully, maybe share some of the things I've learned the hard way, to be encouragement to other people, to help them overcome it. Because as we mentioned. Dr. Rob and Shelley mentioned at that top 100 camp, you never know who's watching, and maybe people know, maybe you're in a position where you do know that there's attention on you. You want to make sure you're on your best behavior, so to speak, and make sure that you're leading by example. But I think we always got to remember that there's always someone watching, especially nowadays, because people can Instagram, Snapchat stuff, because you don't even know people are watching, and they're going to know and they're going to remember it, right? And maybe not everyone, but maybe it's just one person sees you doing something. Maybe it's 1 out of 1,000. Maybe I go speak to an organization of 500 people, and one person is impacted. That's one more than would have been impacted otherwise. And so my mission is to inspire, empower, encourage as many people as possible to overcome the adversity that they face, one person at a time. And I think that if we do that, if we continue to make an impact on every person we meet, maybe not every person, but we continue to touch people in a way that that it's not normal. We continue to give them a reason to remember us. Over the course of our life, I think that'll make a big impact. So I think there's something I heard that the average person will meet. I can't remember what the number was. But it was like 10,000 people in their life or something, right? Maybe that's wrong. Okay, you know what? Let's say it's 1,000, right? And if those people that we meet are impacted by us, and if they can share something that they learn from us with one of the 1,000 people that they meet, then if that person that they meet can share with one of the 1,000 that person meets, right? So it's just like, you know, I feel like if we impact people, the ball, and just get the ball rolling the right way, you know, like Shelley mentioned, if I make an impact if I made an impact, I don't know if this happened, you know, maybe it's one of the guys at the top of our camp, or maybe it's one out of the
people in this room.
One of the people in this room, one of my teammates that I played with at Michigan, and it makes a big impact on them, and they could share what they learned with one of the people that they meet, and that person could share with one of the people they meet. You see what I mean? So it's just like, I feel like the opportunities to make a positive impact are endless, and they'll continue to build on each other. So I think we should make it a priority to take pride in everything we do, because you never know who's watching. So you can all lead by example.
I want to also, on the
By the
behalf...
way, it's 10,000.
Is it 10,000 per Google? Okay, yeah. So if we make an impact on one person, if we made a positive impact on one of you today, both of us together, and then you probably got several more thousand people to meet in your life. But if you could make an impact on one of those people that you meet, and then the odds are that they'll make an impact on one of the 10,000 that they meet, right? And so it's just like, it goes on.
Yeah, I you know, you may not know too many of the people in this room, but I just look around and know people are making an impact. I mean, Tammy talked about her 2 kids that you didn't even know that were influenced by you. I know people that Mitch from St. Joe, you know, where they're going out there and trying to help cardiovascular, I guess, is the service, trying to let people know there's David Heiss is a dentist, you know, has worked impact on a lot of teeth there in the community.
Mine included. The best dentist in Ann Arbor.
And I've known him since he's 4. That's David Heiss. So, and also through music, DeVoe is out here in the audience, and DeVoe's got a full-time job, but he's launched a music career as well. And what do you have performances that you're doing in small venues and things like that, DeVoe? So
Yeah, house concerts, outdoor stuff.
okay, so doing concerts, and so through music he touches people. There's lots of people that touch money in here and redistribute it, and it makes a big difference. In fact, we have a whole thing here because first you make the money by getting entrepreneurship, figuring out through the connections here, and then you go to the Bank of Ann Arbor and you put your deposit there. And when you get too much money for them to handle, you hire one of their investment bankers, and you have Raymond do the taxes. So we get the whole deal here. So stay in this room.
Funny
You can grow rich, right?
Yeah, funny you mention that. I'm actually headed to meet with our accountant today. Yeah, taxes are no fun. The speaking business is tough. I mean, it's great. I love it. And
let me just say, I forgot, I got carried away. I was going to do an ask because I met with Austin last week, and a couple of things that he might not ask for, but he could use. So he needs some help developing a website for his business. He could use a writer, somebody who's like a ghostwriter to help him put together his thoughts to come out with a book so he could peddle it at events like this. Anything else you need? Your clothes are pretty good. You don't need any clothes.
Yeah, but what I was saying about the taxes, though. I have to bring that back up. So, you know what's crazy? So, like, they don't need any more. The government doesn't need any more money. They don't need any more money. I'm 25. Marriage is expensive. Life is expensive. I'm saving for a house, and but one of the things we did. So you know what's crazy?
You know a guy in Washington that's never paid any taxes.
Yeah, but so we were so the speaking deal, right? This is crazy. So before I ended, like last year, before we started a corporation, like for tax reasons, right? We started an S corporation. So I was paying state, federal, Medicare, Social Security, and on top of all that, there's a 15% self-employment tax. It's crazy, right? Not to make this about a tax situation, a tax conversation. Yeah, I don't know why. Just why I should. But yeah, if anyone has any other advice on how I can not try to beat the system.
Well, I don't know how to quite end it any better than